Hey everybody, so imagine this, you've spent a ton of time working on your content, making your website look amazing, only to look at your analytics and see crickets. Almost no visitors. Why? Chances are you've skipped the tiny yet incredibly important step of submitting your sitemap to Google. So today we're going to tackle something that makes a big difference on your website. We'll quickly cover what an XML sitemap is, why Google loves them, and more importantly, step by step, how you actually submit it to Google. Plus, I've got a secret tip at the end that you don't want to miss. So let's go. Okay, so first things first, what is an XML sitemap? Simply put, it's like a map that you submit to Google that shows them all of the important pages on your website. A really easy way to understand what a sitemap is to think of it like a table of contents made specifically for search engines. So let me show you an example of what a sitemap actually looks like. So as you can see on this test site, there's a sitemap_index.xml, which is on this website, and there's 3 separate sitemaps. There's ones for posts, pages, and authors. So if I go ahead and click on this post sitemap, you're going to see a whole bunch of pages with a whole bunch of information, which is probably going to make your brain explode, right? You don't even understand what this means. Sure, it looks really technical, but don't worry, you're not going to have to create this by hand. In fact, your CMS like WordPress using a plugin is going to create a sitemap like this automatically. You just need to know how to submit it to Google. All right, so now let's quickly talk about why Google needs this XML sitemap file. Well, in simple terms, without this file, Google has to manually crawl your website based on a bunch of different signals. They mainly do this looking at your internal linking structure, meaning do you have navigation menus that link to all the pages on your site? Well, on most websites, the longer you go, the more pages you create, and some of those pages don't have internal links. Or if your site is brand new, there's not a lot of external factors signaling to Google, hey, check out this brand new site and all the content that's on it. If you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, Google's actually made a statement about sitemaps and whether or not you need one. Google lists a whole bunch of reasons for why you would need a sitemap, and the second reason is your site is new and has few external links to it. Googlebot and other web crawlers crawl the web by accessing URLs found in previously crawled pages. As a result, Googlebot might not discover your pages if no other sites link to them. So just to quickly break that down, if your site is brand new, you absolutely need to make sure that you submit an XML sitemap to Google so that they can find and crawl those pages. It's kind of a no-brainer to be able to help Google as much as you can to index and understand your pages. By letting Google index and understand your pages, you're just increasing the chances of Google ranking content for different keywords and intent, which will help you to drive more traffic to your site. And we all know that more traffic equals more customers. Okay, so we've talked about what a sitemap is and why Google needs it. So now let's move into how do you actually create a sitemap on your site. I'm going to show you how to do this using WordPress using the free Yoast SEO plugin. All right, so here I am inside of WordPress in the backend dashboard for this test website. So it's really simple to be able to create a sitemap if you've installed Yoast SEO, which you can find quickly if you just go to plugins and you go to add a plugin. All you need to do is search for Yoast in the search plugins box. And it is this very first one, Yoast SEO by Yoast. So by installing this plugin, it will automatically create a sitemap for you. So let me show you where you can find that. Once you've installed Yoast, you're going to see a Yoast SEO menu item here inside of your admin dashboard. All you need to do is click on Settings. So here inside of the Yoast admin dashboard, you're just going to scroll down until you see a picture of a pirate. And this pirate has the map, right? The treasure map. This is where you can view your XML sitemap. So in order to get the URL to the sitemap, which is what Google Search Console needs for us to submit, you're just going to go ahead and click View the XML sitemap. So right up here is my URL for the sitemap. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, hitting Control-C, because we're going to need this URL to be able to submit it to Google Search Console. All right, so now I've opened up Google Search Console for this test website. So it's really easy to be able to know where you need to submit your sitemap because right here in Search Console, there's an actual sitemaps menu item. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Now, when this comes up, you'll see that I've already submitted a sitemap. But here's the secret. I can submit it again. So if you've already submitted a sitemap a long time ago, you can do this process again just to make sure you have the correct sitemap URL in there. Or if your website is brand new, this will work as well. You're just going to submit it right here at this screen. So you can see here that the root domain is already put into this URL field, so it just needs that last part. So if I paste this in, I just want to keep the back part of it. So I'm going to delete the front part, which is the main root domain, so that it literally is just the sitemap underscore index.xml. Now to submit this sitemap, I literally am just going to click submit. And after you do that, you'll see a notification bar that says that your sitemap has been submitted successfully. I'm going to hit dismiss. And that's how you submit your XML sitemap to Google. Now, one question I get a lot is, well, should I be submitting my sitemap all the time to Google, like every time I make a change to my website? And the answer is no, right? The nice thing about WordPress or Yoast is anytime you make changes or create a page, it will automatically update that sitemap. And because you've submitted your sitemap to Google, Google's going to often check that sitemap file and make sure that nothing has changed. And if it has, it's going to automatically index those pages. Now, the really nice thing is after you've submitted your sitemap, you can go to the performance and you can just check over the next days and weeks to see if more pages have been indexed. You can go to your pages right here and see if the number of pages changes to see if more pages have been indexed once you've submitted your sitemap. So it's important to make sure that you keep tabs on Search Console and just see if any impact is being made with your impressions, your clicks, as well as page indexing once you've updated your sitemap. If you've stuck around this far, make sure that you hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified when we put out more helpful content like this. All right, now it's time for me to share that secret tip that'll help you to get brand new content that you write indexed even faster by Google. And surprise, we're going to use Search Console to be able to do this. So if I go back to my test site, let's just say I wrote a brand new piece of content that I want Google to index immediately so that I can have a chance of ranking faster online than me just waiting for their bots to hopefully come by and crawl it themselves. So all I need is the URL to the piece of content. So for example, I'm just going to grab this test dummy blog post and I'm going to copy the URL at the top. Now I'm going to go back into Search Console for this website. So the way to force Google to index a piece of content is really simple. Just at the very top of Search Console, it's going to ask you if you want to inspect URLs. So I'm going to paste in the URL to the brand new piece of content that I just published, and I'm going to hit enter. So when I hit enter, you'll see that Google is going to analyze the page and it's going to tell you if it's been indexed. Now, whether it has been indexed or it hasn't been indexed, it doesn't really matter because at this stage, I can force request indexing, and all I have to do is click request indexing, and Google's going to test that URL. It's going to look at it. It's going to tell me if there's any problems, but it's going to force the Google bots to crawl that page and index it. And once it's finished its test, it's going to come up with a notification telling you that indexing has been requested. This usually will take anywhere from a few minutes to a couple of hours, but what it means is that you're forcing Google to prioritize crawling this page to understand what content is on there and hopefully allow it to start ranking it within its search engine rankings. The big advantage to this is if you make a critical change to a main page or if you create new content, you can force Google to look at it and you can force Google to index it faster than just hoping that the bots will eventually crawl it on its own. This is a smart strategy to implement if you're trying to get content to rank quickly and if you're trying to drive more traffic to your website sooner than later. And there you go. Now you know everything you need to know about XML sitemaps and how to submit them to Search Console. Now, while creating an XML sitemap is automatic, right? Like a plugin's going to do it inside of WordPress, what isn't automatic is creating the proper site structure that Google likes and that Google will reward with more traffic and higher rankings. So if you want to make sure that you're not shooting your SEO efforts in the foot with a bad site structure, make sure that you watch this video where we go over step by step how to create a site structure that Google likes and that Google will rank high in the search engines to drive more traffic to. So click to watch this video and I'll see you over there.